LA Chargers. They are the kind of bastardized stepchild to the Rams at this point. Thoughts on the Chargers this season?
You are a hater of the Chargers. I think you like to
Not
see that.
realistic.
No,
What
I
have they
think you're a
done?
hater. What have they done? Well, they drafted 2 wide receivers. They signed DJ Chark. I know DJ Chark does not move that much for you. They also addressed their offensive line. And let's remember how Jim Harbaugh drafted that 49ers team a decade before after he had spent time at Stanford. He hit on a lot of those players in that draft, and they ended up being better than we expected. I think they're still not going to make the playoffs, but I think 8-9, 9-8, I think is a realistic expectation for the Chargers.
Yeah, congrats. You're paying your quarterback $200 million to have a losing record. Good for you.
That's for the Chargers to figure out. But I do think that they're going to be right around that echelons.
Okay, yes. So we have the Chargers here, and they start out game 1 versus those pesky Raiders at 4:05 in LA. But the problem with the Chargers, and probably my biggest problem, is they don't have a home field advantage.
Yeah, but they haven't been that bad at home since moving to LA. I think that they're going to ultimately split with the Raiders. Because of the new coaching regime and everything here, I'm going to pick them to lose to the Raiders now and win against the Raiders later.
All right. So they lose to the Raiders, and then they have to trek down to Tepperville in Carolina, team that has, Adam Thielen there, got Deontay Johnson, Chuba Hubbard.
See, at this point, there's going to be a name that comes out of the LA camp. You're going to be like, ooh, I didn't even think that they were going to draft this guy. Lade McConkey. Remember his name. Lad McConkey, second-round pick for them. I think he's going to be pretty good. He has a Puka Nacua comparison. We'll see if he becomes Puka Nacua. I think he's going to be pretty good.
Okay.
So I think they beat the Panthers.
You think they beat the Panthers? Okay. And then they go up to Pittsburgh after coming from Carolina.
I think they can beat the Steelers. I think that's fair.
Really?
Yes. I think they can beat the Steelers.
All right.
Russell Wilson. Do you remember how bad Russell Wilson was in Denver? I think it's fair that he's as Arthur Smith as his offensive coordinator. I think I give the Chargers a win against them.
Okay. So 2-1. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then they face off at home against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Justin Herbert has lost 4 straight games against Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think he's going to beat them this time around. I'm realistic. I am fair with the Chargers, but they are not going to beat the Chiefs this year.
All right. So they are 2-2, and then they go to Denver. Is it Bo Nix? Is it Zach Wilson? Is it Stidham? Is it Sean Payton playing quarterback? We don't know.
Doesn't matter. Broncos, you saw the video. They went 1-16. They're not the Broncos are lucky enough, or I should say the Chargers are lucky enough that they get to face them twice. So they will at least win 2 games.
All right. So shocking the entire world, the Broncos are 3-2, and then they go on a second game on the road to Arizona versus Marvin Harrison.
This is a game I do see them losing. I think that Arizona, Kyler Murray, can he get hot against a Chargers team that's figuring themselves out? Marvin Harrison, they're going to be a tough team to defend. I think I see the Cardinals winning there.
All right. And then Taysom Hill comes to town with the Saints to LA.
Yeah, I've been too nice to the Saints. The Saints are garbage. I'm going to give the Chargers, all they need is Gus the Bus and Lad McConkey, and they'll be okay.
All right. And then they host the Cincinnati Bengals. No, that's not the next game. They host the Cleveland Browns in November, or they go to Cleveland to face the Browns.
I think it's fair to say, I think Jim Harbaugh is a fine coach, but I think Kevin Stefanski is a great coach. This Browns team, they find a way. They have a really tough defense. I think they should be able to shut down the Chargers. I'll be fair. I'll say the Browns win that game.
Wow, comments are going to go wild. He just said Kevin Stefanski is better than Jim Harbaugh. Can you believe it? And then after the Bengals, they host the Ravens.
Wait, what? No. They face the Titans.
Yeah, the Titans, right? Yeah.
The Titans, I think they can beat the Titans. I think by then, Jim Harbaugh is starting to get the momentum there. I think that's a winnable game for them. I'll take them beating the Titans.
Okay. So Will Levis's tape is not enough to get him over the Chargers in that one. And then they host the Bengals and the Ravens in a 3-game homestand.
Yeah, I think those are 2 games that they struggle against. I don't know if they can win either. Maybe the Ravens game just because of that brotherly rivalry. But ultimately, I'll say they lose both those games.
Both of them. All right. So they drop to 5-6, and then they go to Atlanta. Sorry, Chargers. This is at 1:00.
I think they can still beat the Falcons.
Okay.
Oh, please. You're acting as if Raheem Morris is going to be out of his mind as a head. I think the Chargers can win that game.
Okay. So they are 6
Oh, no, they can't beat
6
Kirk Cousins. Come on.
at 1:00. Kirk
Oh, my
Cousins
God.
is
You
an
act like
MVP.
he's a god. He's not.
He's and not on prime time, but at 1:00, Kirk Cousins is an MVP.
Well, I could say Justin Herbert's just about the same. Look at his numbers.
Yeah, look at his numbers. And then after that, they go to Kansas City to face the Chiefs.
I was realistic. I said they're not going to beat the Chiefs this season, and I don't think that happens again this year either. I think the Chiefs win.
All right, so they drop to 6-7, and then they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think they beat the Buccaneers in this case.
Okay.
In SoFi.
So they are 500 now at 7-7, and then they host the Broncos. Is it Bo Nix? Is it Sean Payton? Is it Jarrett Stidham? Is it Zach Wilson?
And this is where they really break their heart. If they were to win down the stretch, chances are they could make the playoffs, because I think then you said they were what, 7-7?
7-7, yeah.
So if they went out, they probably make the playoffs potentially. Unfortunately, the Broncos win their only game of the season because the Chargers, like they do with their friends, they break their hearts, and I think that they beat the Broncos. The Broncos beat them.
And then finishing up the year with 2 road games, going to New England in December.
I think they beat the Patriots in this case.
Okay. And then they are 8-8, and then you said they beat the Raiders in the last regular season game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think they're 8, and then if they lose that game, right around where I expect them to be, 8-9, 9-8. Whether they're one or the other, I think that that's fair for the Chargers. You have a better you've improved at head coach. I think that your running back situation, I think they're maybe a little bit more dynamic than they were before. Austin Eckler's out the building. They got rid of some of those tough contracts, and their defense should perform better to this point because, let's be honest, they underperformed under Brandon Staley. I think Jim Harbaugh is able to get more out of his players than Brandon Staley. And I do think that some of the weapons they drafted do look promising. So I think they'll be better than what you expect, but I think that they're still going to be 8 or 8-9, 9-8.
Yeah.